Alright, factoring quadratics is one of my favorite things to do. I am a nerd, and that's okay with me. It's okay to be a nerd, okay? This factoring quadratics, we are going to look at trinomials today, okay? So this is when I have 3 terms, okay? When I have 3 terms. We've talked about when we have 4 terms. Now we're going to talk about when we have 3 terms. Before we do this, I want to review one more time multiplying our binomials out. So a binomial has 2 terms. So this is a binomial times a binomial, okay? We use the distributive property. I'm going to distribute the 2x to both the x and the negative 5. What is 2x times x? 2x squared, perfect. And 2x times negative 5 is? Negative 10x, okay? Then I am going to distribute the negative 4, okay? Negative 4 times x, grab the door, please.
4x.
Negative 4x, and negative 4 times negative 5. Hey, make sure you let me know when you're leaving next time, okay? I don't remember, I'm sorry. I didn't remember hearing you ask. You're good. Okay? All right, then, what would my last step be?
To add your...
To combine my like terms, to add the things that look alike. Do I change my exponents anymore at this point? No. Okay? So I'm going to combine these two. All right? So this simplifies, and it gives me 2x squared minus 14x plus 20. Okay? All right, so notice that I got 3 terms out of multiplying a binomial times a binomial. Today, we're going to undo this by factoring. Okay? Just remember, factoring is undoing polynomial multiplication. So how we're going to do this is by doing what we call splitting the middle. Okay? We are going to take a trinomial, and we're going to see if we can split this up, okay? We're going to split this middle term back out into the 2 terms, and then we will factor by grouping, which is what we have done, okay? So take a look. This is an example right here. I have 3x squared plus 11x plus 10. We always want to check to see if there is a GCF, all right? So I'm going to highlight this step 0. Step 0, factor out a GCF if possible. If it's not possible, we're not going to do anything. Okay, this is where I want to look at these steps, and I know it's hard to see up here, okay, but you should have it on your paper. It says rewrite your middle term, B, as a sum of 2 terms that multiply to give you A times C and add to give you B. Well, what in the world does that mean? Look back up here, okay? A is the number that sits in front of x squared. That will forever be the number that sits in front of x squared, okay? B is the term that sits in front of x, or the coefficient, and C is my constant. So A, B, and C are our numeric values, okay? And we're going to be using those. Now it says right here, the ones that multiply to give you A and C, but add to give you B. All right, now I'm going to use this example right here. I do what I call slip and slide. I'm going to slip and slide, and I multiply my A value times my C value. So A times C. What is A times C?
3x squared times 10.
Or what? Just the coefficients, just the numbers. 3 times 10 is 30. Okay, I'm going to write that out to the side. Sorry, y'all couldn't see what I was doing, could you? Okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to list all of my factor pairs. Okay? So I know that 1 times 30 gives me 30. I know 2 times 15. 3 times 10. 4 doesn't go into 30, but 5 times 6 does. Okay, and if I'm going in numeric order here, I've got 5, then 6, so I know that my factor pairs are done. Okay? Do you agree that all of these give me a product of 30? Okay? All right, so right here, I have done A times C. Now, I want to find the pair that adds to give me my B value. Well, 11 is my B value. Okay? What is 1 plus 30?
31.
31. That's not it. What's 2 times 15? 17. That's not it. 3 plus 10 is 13. 5 and 6 give me 11. Okay, perfect. So that's what I need. These are the two numbers that we are going to use to split the middle term. So I'm going to split the 11x into 6x and 5x. Do you see how I wrote it in a different order, but it's different here? It does not matter, okay? Your order does not matter. And then, do you notice how I now have 4 terms again? What did we do when we did 4 terms? We grouped the first 2. We grouped the last 2. 3x is my GCF of this first group. 5 is the GCF of that second group, okay? So inside my parentheses, I have that same term, or the same binomial, okay? So this is where I take what I had left over and I create its own parentheses, and I have that x plus 2. All right? So once I split the middle, I'm going to do exactly what I've been doing the last couple days, okay? The hard part is splitting the middle. Yes? Let's do several of these together. I would never give you that one example and say, okay, now you do it. That's not me, okay? All right, here we go. Is there a GCF that I can remove in the beginning of this example down here at the bottom? I got 2, 5, and 12. No, because of the 5, okay? Then I'm going to slip and slide, okay? What is 2 times negative 12? Negative 24. So I'm going to list my factor pairs of negative 24. What do you know about a negative number and multiplying? One of them has to be what? Negative. Okay? One has to be positive, one has to be negative. I'll get to my signs in a minute. I got 1 times 24. I have 2 and 12. I have 3 and 8. 4 and 6. 5 doesn't go in, and then I'm back to 6. Okay? Now, somehow, out of these factor pairs, if one of the numbers is negative, I need to be able to get a negative 5. Okay? So, I've got 2 options here. Okay? I've got 1 minus 24 or negative 1 plus 24. These are my 2 options. Hold your question. Okay? What is 1 minus 24? Negative 23. And this is positive 23. So that did not give me the 9, right? So this factor pair is out. All right, then I have, you can either do 2 minus 12, because the 12 is negative there, or you can do negative 2 plus 12. What is 2 minus 12? Whoa. negative 10, and negative 2 plus 12 is positive 10. Did that give me the negative 5 that I wanted? No. Okay? Let's go right here. If I do 3 minus 8 or negative 3 plus 8, what's 3 minus 8? Negative 5. Ooh, ding, ding, ding. That's what I needed, right? Yes? Okay, so I'm going to stop there. These numbers, the 3 and the 8, specifically a negative 8. That is how I'm going to split the middle. Okay? So this is 2w squared. I'm going to go ahead and say plus 3w minus 8w minus 12. The only thing that I did here, friends, was split the middle two terms. Okay? Now that I have 4 terms, I'm going to factor by grouping. Okay? 4 terms, we're going to factor by grouping. So I'm going to group the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms. What can I take out as a GCF of this first group? A W. Okay? Now, taking out that W leaves me with a 2W plus 3 on the inside right there. Okay? All right, looking at this one, the first thing I notice is I do not like that negative. Okay? So I know that when I take out a GCF, I want to take out a negative. What is the biggest number that will go into both 8 and 12? 4. So negative 4 is going to be my GCF. When I divide negative 8 by 4, I get a positive 2. So that's a positive 2W. And negative 12 divided by negative 4 is positive 3. Oh, look at that. So this gives me 2W plus 3. And then I take my GCFs, and this is my final answer, friends. I have written that now as polynomial multiplication. That's my final answer. Okay? Let's do several more of these. I don't want to do pre-calculus, do you? Okay. Example number 1. Technically, there is a number sitting out here in front for my A value. Okay? My A value is 1. I am going to slip and slide. 1 times negative 16 is negative 16. Here we go again with that negative. One of my numbers has to be negative, okay? We have 1 times 16. We have 2 times 8. And we have 4 times 4. Out of these factor pairs, which of them, if one of my numbers is negative, do you think I'm going to get a 6 from? The 2 and the 8. Which of those numbers has to be negative for them to add up to give me positive 6? The 2. Negative 2 plus 8 gives me the 6. Okay? So I'm going to split the middle. I've got x squared minus 2x plus 8x minus 16. I split the middle. Now that I have 4 terms, I'm going to factor by grouping. My GCF in the first one is an x, so I've got x minus 2 inside. What can I divide out of the second? An 8. So that also leaves me with an x minus 2. Okay? These two are the same. That's a good thing. So I got x minus 2 times x plus 8. Does it matter what order you write that last thing in? Could I have said x plus 8 times x minus 2? Absolutely. Okay? All right, example number 2. Slip and slide, friends. There's no GCF. 2 times 1 is 2. The only options I have for my factors are 1 and 2. Since this is a positive 2, this either has to be both positive or both negative. I need them to add up to give me a positive 3. So this is going to be 2x squared plus 1x plus 2x plus 1. I could have done plus 2x plus 1x. It doesn't matter. Okay? I've got 4 terms, so I'm going to factor by grouping. I can take out an x in the first set, so that leaves me a 1 there. Do you see this second set of parentheses already has a 2x plus 1? So what is the GCF that I can take out? Do I need to take anything out? I don't need to take anything out, but I need something right here out front. So I'm going to put a plus 1. If I distribute a positive 1, nothing's going to change. Okay? I have to have that plus 1 right here. Now, what's inside my parentheses is the same. So I'm going to create another set of parentheses with those GCFs I just removed. Final answer. Okay? All right, look at number 3. Actually, let's go to number 4. Okay? Notice right here that there is no x term. There's nothing showing. Technically, I can say plus 0x minus 16. What's 0 times anything? 0. Okay? So I'm still going to go about this the same way right now. There is another way to do this, but let's go with this process for now. I'm going to do 1 times negative 16. That's negative 16. I'm going to repeat the factors I had a moment ago. Now, if it multiplied to give me a negative 16, one of my numbers has to be positive and one of them has to be negative, okay? Out of these factor pairs, if one of them is positive and one of them is negative, I need them to cancel each other out to give me a 0. What's going to do that? A negative 4 and a positive 4. Okay? So I'm going to split this up. I'm going to say minus 4x and plus 4x. I'm going to group the first 2 and the last 2. What can you take out up front? An x, okay? That leaves me with x minus 4 inside. What can you divide out of the back? Just a 4, a positive 4, okay? So that's also going to leave me with an x minus 4. So I've got x minus 4, and then the other one was a positive 4. Okay? The tricky part is finding the middle 2 terms. The rest of that, hopefully at this point, you're feeling a little bit more comfortable with factoring by grouping. Okay? If not, we're going to keep practicing. All right? Let's take a look at number 5. What do you notice about number 5? Every number is divisible by what? 2. So I'm going to take out a GCF of 2. So if I divide out a 2, that leaves me with 2x squared plus x minus 6. Okay? Now, do not forget our GCF. Okay? I'm going to highlight it so I don't forget it. But for now, I'm going to ignore it, and I'm only going to focus on this right here, okay? I am going to slip and slide, and I'm going to do 2 times negative 6. That gives me negative 12. My factors are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. My middle term is now a positive 1. Okay? If this is negative, one of my factors has to be negative and the other has to be positive. How could I get a 1 out of any of these pairs?
3 and the 4.
The 3 and the 4. Which one has to be negative?
3.
The 3. So negative 3 and positive 4. Okay? So I'm not forgetting my GCF. Okay? I'm still going to keep carrying it down. All right? But I'm still going to split the middle. I've got 2x squared. I'm going to do minus 3x plus 4x and minus 6. Okay? We're going to group the first 2 and the last 2. What can I take out of the first set?
1x.
Just an x. That leaves me with 2x minus 3 inside there. What can I divide out of this second set?
2.
A 2. That leaves me with 2x minus 3 as well. Okay? So these were the same. So that's going to become one of my sets of parentheses, and the other set comes from my GCFs. But we cannot forget our original GCF of 2. We have to carry that 2 down. Okay? The GCFs are more annoying than anything, just because it's very, very easy to forget it. Just stick it out front in the end.
Is that where the funny thing is of like you forgot to carry the 2? Or is it just in that way?
Say that again. Like carrying the 2 where?
So like, you know how in like shows and stuff, if like they're trying to do hard math and they're like, oh, I finally got it, and then someone's like, oh, you forgot to carry the 2. It's like,
Oh, yeah. I got you. Yes, I have, yes. Yeah, and your whole problem's messed up because you forgot to carry 2. Yep. If you forget to carry this 2 on down, the whole thing's wrong. Okay? All right, here we go. Let's take a look at another one with a GCF. What can I divide out of this? A 3. That leaves me with x squared minus 9x. What's 42 divided by 3, friends?
that would be 8? No.
Nope.
No.
42.
14?
14,
Yeah. 14? Okay, we'll go with that. Y'all better be right. Is somebody with a calculator nearby want to check that for sure?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, that's 14.
Okay. All right, here we go. I'm going to ignore the 3 for right now, but remember, don't forget it, okay? I'm going to work with what I have inside. There's an understood but unwritten leading coefficient of 1. So that's going to be 1 times 14. And I'm going to list out my factors. I have a shorter list this time. 1 and 14, 2 and 7. Now, my B value is negative 9. So I need these numbers to give me a 9 somehow. Should be obvious that it's going to be the 2 and the 7, right? But what do I need to be true about the 2 and the 7?
They're both positive.
Oh, careful. I need them to add up to give me a
Oh,
negative.
they're both negative.
So they both have to be negative. Do you agree with me that negative 2 times negative 7 is positive 14? Yes, okay? But I need them to add to give me a negative, so they have to be a negative. They both have to be negative. I like to think of this, y'all, as just like a number game, okay? It's not, don't think of it as anything different than a game. Games are fun. Peyton just gave me the nostril flare. Okay, I'm going to carry my 3 down, and then I'm going to split the middle right here. I've got x squared minus 2x minus 7x plus 14. Bless you. Okay? Group the first 2, group the last 2. What can we take out up front? Just an x, okay? That leaves me with an x minus 2 on the inside. What can I divide out of this second set? First of all, I don't like the negative, so I'm taking out a negative. Negative 7. And that leaves me, if I divide both of these by negative 7, that's a positive x. Positive 14 divided by negative 7 is negative 2. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and carry that pesky 3 down here. I'm going to bring my x minus 2, and then I've got x minus 7 in the back. Okay? Are you with me?
This is the hard math we're talking about.
I mean, it's not going to get much harder than this with the factoring. This is not hard, it's just you got to pay attention to details. The signs are going to kill us every time, okay? Pay attention to our signs, okay? All right, let's look at number let's go with number 8. Okay, and I'm doing this one on purpose because I'll show you in a second. All right, here we go. I'm going to slip inside. There was no GCF here. What's 2 times negative 3? Negative 6, okay? So my only pairs are 1 and 6, 2 and 3. But do you see how I could get a negative 5?
Both negatives on the paper.
Yeah, I could get a 5 out of both a 1 and a 6 and a 2 and a 3, okay? But they have to multiply to give me a negative 6, so I have to have a positive and a negative, okay? And they have to add to give me negative 5. So right here, if I did my little number thing right here, I could do 1 minus 6, negative 1 plus 6, 2 minus 3, or negative 2 plus 3. This gives me a negative 5. This gives me a positive 5, negative 1, and positive 1. These are all my pairs, right?
We would need negative 6 plus 1.
I need the negative 6 and the positive 1. Okay? So I'm going to split the middle right here. 2x squared. I'm going to go ahead and put the negative 6 up front just because I want to. Plus 1x minus 3. Okay? All right. Group the first 2, group the last 2. I can take out a 2x right here. That leaves me with an x minus 3. Look at the back set. Can I take anything out? No. So I need a placeholder of a positive 1 here. You got to have something as a GCF. If the GCF, all I can remove is 1, you put the plus 1 there. Okay? So right here, I got 2x plus 1 and x minus 3.
with a negative in the first part, you don't have to do it.
You could. Yeah. Yeah. You can rearrange those however you want to. You're going to get the same thing in the end. Okay? All right. Now, we are going to learn one more little method today. It's called the difference of squares. How many terms do you see here? 2. So this is when I have 2 terms. Okay? And this is called a difference of squares. By squares, I mean perfect squares. So like 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36. Let's list some more. 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, 144, 169, and so forth. Okay? This is 13. What is 14 squared? So 14 times 14, I think, is 196. And then 15 times 15 is 225. These are the perfect squares, 1 through 15. You need to be able to recognize your perfect squares.
Yeah, you're right, 186.
Okay, perfect. All right, this right here has a special factoring pattern. We did one like this just a moment ago, okay? And that was example number 4. So I'm going to come put a star right here on example number 4, and I'm going to make a note that we could look at page 11, okay? Example number 4, page 11. If I had known this method, because it's got the 2 terms, right? Then I could have skipped over that. Okay. All right, so all I need to do, okay, I had x squared minus 16, right? X squared minus 16 factored into x plus 4 and x minus 4. Does everybody see that the square root of x squared is x and the square root of 16 is 4? In one set of parentheses, I have a plus sign, and in one side, I have a minus. So if I have a difference of squares, one's going to have a plus, one's going to have a minus, okay? Then we are going to take the square root of 8 and put that number or variable or combination in the first position, because that's out in the first position. We'll ignore the minus. The minus is just telling me to put the alternate signs. A positive times a negative is a negative. And then we'll take the square root of b squared, which is b, and we will put that singular number in the back. Okay?
What if it has more than 2? Do you have to like square it or cube it?
No, we won't have that right now. Well, we will, but we'll get there. Okay? All right, here we go. Right here, I have x squared and I have 225. Both of these are perfect squares. Okay? So I'm going to come out here and I'm going to take the square root of both of those. The square root of x squared is just x. Squaring and square rooting each other cancel it out, so all I'm left with is the x. And then what's the square root of 225? 15. Okay? So these are the 2 things that I'm going to have inside my parentheses. One is going to have a plus, the other is going to have a minus. Because the x sat up front, the x squared was up front, the x is going to go up front. And because the 225 was in the back, the 15 is going to go in the back. And I'm done. All right, number 2. What's the square root of 81? 9. Okay? So, a 9 is going to go in the first position. What is this? And forget the minus. The minus just tells me that one's going to have a plus and the other's going to have a minus. It does not matter where you put the plus or the minus. I put the minus up front this time. If you didn't, I don't care. Okay? What is the square root of 4y squared? You got to do the number and the variable. 2y. And you're done. You like that, don't you? Okay? All right, now, look right here. Do you notice here how I've got a higher power than 2? You just cut that in half. Okay? So right here, what's the square root of 9k to the 4th? 3k to the second power. Perfect. 3k to the second power. You just cut the power in half. And then what's the square root of 25? 5. Okay? Now, if I have a pesky little GCF, I want to remove the GCF. Here I can take out a 2x. That leaves me with x squared minus 100. I like those two numbers a lot better than what I started with. So we just carry on the GCF, put a plus and minus in either one. What's the square root of x squared? X. And what's the square root of 10? Sorry, 100. I said it. 10. My bad. Done. Okay? All right. Now take a look right here at 72y to the 4th minus 18y to the 2nd. 72 and 18 are not perfect squares. Okay? So I need to try and find a GCF that I can take out. I want to take out the biggest number I can.
18.
You can take out 18. You can also take out y squared. What is 72 divided by 18? 4. So this is going to give me 4y squared minus 1. Now, this 18y squared is going to stay out front. You don't have to do anything with that anymore. Okay? What's the square root of 4y squared? 2y. And what's the square root of 1? 1. Done. Y'all like that one, don't you? Okay? What about number 6? What can I remove? What do they both have? They both have an x. Okay? So if I take out an x, that's going to leave me with 49x squared minus y squared. So keep the GCF out front and then set up your parentheses, a plus in one, a minus in the other. What's the square root of 49x squared? 7x, so that goes in the first position. And what's the square root of y squared? Y. If y'all are sleeping, you're missing the easy stuff today. Okay? Okay? Let's see. All right, I would like for you, okay? I would like for you to turn to page 10. And you're going to work on all 6 of the U-try problems for those, okay? And then on page 11, you're going to work on, I want you to do numbers 1, 5, let's do 1, 4, 5, and 8. You're probably going to need Desmos to help you factor this out. Remember, you can do the GCF. That will help you figure out what number. You just type in the letters GCF, open up your parentheses, whatever numbers you're trying to find the GCF of, however many you need, and that will give you this in Desmos, okay? All right, so you may log into Desmos, but I want you guys to work on factoring these 6 on page 10 and these 4 on page 11. If you do not finish in class, it becomes homework. So focus and knock it out, okay? I'm going to work them myself.